Welcome back to the Extra Rep Podcast, guys. I'm Josh.
I'm Liam.
So today we're going to go through part 2 of the Q&A. So hope you guys took a lot out of the first part. It was actually really fun answering a few questions and sort of putting us on the spot. And again, probably going to have some slightly differing opinions on these, but you'll probably find they'll all sort of come together in different ways. So we're going to start where you left off with your client question. What was it? And we'll get stuck in.
Gotcha. So he shot me a message. So I've been training this guy for about 4 years now. Shout out to you, Aaron. He's still with me. And we've recently swapped him to full body training. And he wonders, why is full body training better than the bro split? And I had to explain everything to him. But everything he was saying to me, I was like, red flag, red flag, red flag. Like, because I was pinpointing like all these old beliefs I used to have around training, and I was educating him, helping him understand why. And he mentioned like, he always just felt like that was the right thing to do, doing the bro split. And then he started to mention things like, oh, I just miss feeling sore all the time. And then he said things like, oh, I just miss getting a pump in the gym. Like all the typical bro things that don't actually correlate specifically to muscle growth and his goals. So I had to sort of reframe and explain to him why a lower volume and a higher frequency with intense sets was actually working for him. Now, he did mention like he feels like the training program is really hard at the time and then he feels fine after. And I'm like, that's good. You shouldn't feel like you want to have a nap after leg day and just do nothing for the rest of the day, especially if you're a morning trainer. And this is why maximal recoverable volume and doing specific intense sets and then just getting pretty much straight back out, straight into recovery, waiting another 48 hours and then hitting that muscle group again is starting to really work for him. But he wanted to actually understand why, essentially, higher frequency training, why the pump didn't matter and why soreness. We did sort of cover that in the last Q&A, but why soreness doesn't matter. So I know you train at maybe a 2 times frequency with upper lower, is it? Or is it 3 times?
At the moment, I'm doing 3 full bodies.
3 full bodies, there you go. Yeah. So we can both explain it from our different point of views. So I'll explain it from the terms that we know that muscle atrophy happens within about 48, 72 hours if you stop using a muscle completely.
Just quickly, what's atrophy?
Atrophy is when a muscle starts to actually pretty much, what's the word? Not disappear, even though it kind of is.
Decrease.
Like dissipate, like it decreases in size, nutrients, all that stuff
So you're
like that.
losing muscle.
Essentially, yes, you're losing muscle. That's probably the easiest way. Yeah. But it's like, it's such fear mongering when you say it though. Like,
yeah.
Because it kind of rage baits people when you just say, hey, you're losing muscle if you don't train XYZ. It's like, no, we're talking like minimal amounts, but we're always looking, especially if you're an advanced lifter, and this guy's, in his mid 40s, he's been training for a very long time, how to just get the most out of his bang for buck in his training program. So we know that muscles atrophy. So let's say if you train chest on a Monday, which is the typical bro split, and then you don't even train chest again until the next Monday. There were 5 days there where your chest was fully recovered and you've just waited 5 days to hit it with another stimulus. Whereas on full body training, not only has it recovered, but you've had 3 times instead of 1 time to actually get a maximal growth stimulus. And strength gains also happen that quickly through the week. The neural adaptations are real, right? There are times where on my full body A, full body B session, my full body A on Monday, I've done the exact same exercise on Friday, but still gone up. And I thought on that Monday, shit, that was heavy. Like that was a working set, but I still got 2 more reps out on the Friday.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about that sort of full body A, B, C, Monday, Wednesday, Friday as an example, I think the one thing that people don't understand is like the amount of sets and the amount of volume they're doing.
Yep.
So it's like, like you mentioned back to that chest day, it's like, okay, you went in and did chest. So you did, let's say 4 sets of 5 exercises.
Yep.
So you got 20 sets of chest there. We know that's probably overkill, right? Unless you're an enhanced bodybuilder, which is why the bro split can work for them. They're still going to grow muscle. But again, we need to recover a bit better. So I think if you thought about, let's say 10 sets, right, as an abstract number, and we go, okay, we'll do 3 sets of chest on Monday, we'll do 4 on Wednesday, and we'll do 3 on Friday. That normally is going to give you, number one, more effective reps and stimulus because you're going to be able to recover. And like you mentioned, you're going to be able to hit it multiple times. And a lot of the research has now shown, there's not a crazy difference between like 2 and 3. So if you can hit a minimum of twice a week, I think that is, almost the perfect training program. You hit it 3 times, even better. Depends how you want to structure your week. Like I've done the 4 days, push, pull, rest, push, pull. find that's really effective.
Yep.
Or like I said, 3 days, the 3 full body days, really, really effective as well. And I had a client actually, Stephen, shout out to you if you're listening. He was talking to me about it and he was like, I'm actually getting better results with 3 days than I was doing with 6. And he's like, why is that, bro? And then I was explaining, I was like, you're just not recovering and you're just putting too many sets in those 6 exercises. Whereas when you have days off, you're able to recover, you're able to eat, you're able to do some cardio, get some movement. And you're actually able to hit, those same muscle groups with more effectiveness.
I will die on a hill with like this because honestly, like I'm still shocked with how my results have changed over the last, year and a half of adopting this. And just all the other things that come with it, all the other benefits, like I'm not so fatigued throughout the day. I don't have to sleep 10 hours a night, like just to recover from the excessive volume. But even going back to that client's question, he mentioned like he thought he just loved getting a pump. And he's like, I kind of miss that. And look, he actually specifically mentioned his enjoyment around the bro split training. And I was like, okay, so this is an interesting barrier to entry, right? Because we know through motor unit recruitment, yes, you can do unilateral, you can do all these effective sets and everything, but one thing that increases motor unit recruitment is enjoyment. So if he purely goes in and enjoys something more than a full body session, there is potential that he could make better gains. And we're not saying you can't progress on a bro split. It's very possible, right? But there's just a lot more risk versus reward in terms of excessive muscle damage and accumulative fatigue. That's the only thing I worry about. And it's like, why would you want to pay 3 times the price for something when you can get it at 3 times less? That's what I look at it from a muscle growth standpoint.
Yeah, I think, no need for me to pretty much hit the nail on the head with everything there. Next question. Someone's come up and they basically said, I'm a hard gainer. So when we're talking about hard gaining, they're just saying, in terms of nutrition, like I try and eat and I eat and I eat. Like let's just say, for example, in the example, the training is, adequate and we're getting an adequate stimulus, but they're still finding they're not putting on weight. They're looking a little bit better, but they're just not putting on the weight. What do you find happens there with the hard gainers?
Well, I always go back to the training first and foremost because like someone needs to nail their training when it comes to muscle growth. Like you have to give your body the stimulus to actually do that. But, given that that's all taken care of, because, if you think you're a non-responder to training, shout out to you because you're not. Trust me, you're just not on the right training program. But when it comes to calories, right? Are they tracking their calories? It's the first thing. So it comes down to 3 things. Tracking calories, their water intake, and their sleep quality. That's literally it when it comes to gaining weight, apart from the training stimulus. Now, I would argue they just haven't done their research well enough. You can go to Coles banana bread for like $1, and each slice is like 500 calories, and they're tiny. Like you can eat really calorically dense food in this day and age. You can smash honey in a smoothie, and you feel like you didn't even have a smoothie. And honestly, I don't find there's much excuse for it. I feel like people just aren't paying attention to their caloric intake and then to their sleep, which, as we mentioned before in the previous Q&A, how it ties into, the precursor to growth hormone and insulin, which actually will help with muscle growth.
Yeah, I'm going to go down a slightly different route in terms of like someone's NEAT and in terms of that. So basically what will normally happen with these people who are more hard gainers, again, everyone is slightly different, but like if they're increasing their calorie intake, as a result, a lot of these hard gainer type people will then start to move more. They'll fidget more. They'll do all these things. They will start to then burn more calories. So I think, again, it still goes back to your example of going like, okay, well, you still need to eat more. Completely correct. But someone who is, quote unquote, a hard gainer and has a harder time of doing that will be a lot more fidgety, will have more needs. So they may require, an extra 10%, an extra 20%, depending on that as well. And the same thing happens when you're talking about fat loss. It's like, okay, when our body's trying to preserve stuff, we'll start fidgeting less, we'll burn less calories. And that's the same thing of that, adaptive thermogenesis where people go, my metabolism's broken. And it's like, it's probably not. It's probably you're just not moving around as much as you used to because you're not tracking your steps. And you've dieted, for 12 weeks now and you've gone to that halt of like needing to maneuver something, whether it's more steps, less calories, etc. So I think that is, for a lot of the hard gainer people, yes, training, of course, stimulus that flicks the switch. But I'd just say to people, just keep slowly upping the calories, add another 5% if you feel like your NEAT is changing, and you can check your steps and things as well. But I know I'm a semi-fidgety person, so when I am now increasing calories, I know straight away I just fidget more, I want to walk more, I can't sit fucking still, right? Whereas when I'm dieting, like, I get to those low levels of dieting, and geez, last thing I want to do is go for a walk, but I get myself out and shuffle my feet in those last few weeks to get the steps in, because again, otherwise, that calorie deficit probably won't be doing its job anymore.
My hack is backloading the calories at the end of the night, so I make sure I have enough room for dessert, and then also when you're tired at the end of the day, you've eaten a shit ton for dinner and then dessert on top of it, you don't really feel like going for a walk after. You feel like watching your Netflix show or whatever. Yeah. So I find that works, and that also shifts you into a parasympathetic state and gets you ready for bed.
Yeah. All right. Keto, specifically...
I'll let you take the reins on this one. You love this one.
Specifically for muscle growth, they say, can you still gain muscle on keto? And the simple answer is yes, you can. But is it optimal? Absolutely not.
No.
And the reason for this is, again, we know carbs. Carbs are protein sparing. So it allows carbs to get the glycogen in, shuttle to the muscles, do all the right things in terms of performance. And of course, when we're talking keto and fat, of course, we need a certain amount of fats for, testosterone, hormonal health, etc. But if we're getting that sort of minimum level, then it is not impossible, of course. You can still, of course, gain some muscle because, again, you've got enough protein there. You've got enough protein synthesis turning over. But using fat as energy, for your training is just not going to be as useful because, again, fat's not protein sparing as well. So the chance of you potentially burning some more protein or just being able to gain less muscle in general is going to be a lot higher there. So again, it's not a bad thing. Again, keto for fat loss, I would say, could be really, really useful for someone who is metabolically unhealthy or inflexible. So it can be really useful. But again, the dose makes the poison. It depends on what you're looking to achieve at that given moment in time. And then the last thing I'll mention is with keto, especially, obviously it was keto for muscle gain, but it's like, how long can you really stick on keto for the rest of your life without like having a carb? Yep. So, it's one of those things where people will go, extreme end of the spectrum, then other extreme end, which is our next question, which you'll love, carnivore diet.
Yep. So full disclosure
for fat loss.
Full disclosure, I've done a carnivore diet, mainly for autoimmune stuff. I've had clients on a carnivore diet, but carnivore around fat loss, I've never prescribed.
And why is that?
The reason being is sustainability. And also it's too extreme, right? Like, even though someone feels really disciplined that they're only eating eggs and steak and they're full all the time, they get bored of it. It's as simple as that. Like, life happens. Someone wants to go out for brekkie and, they're just like, oh shit, what can I do? Okay, I just got to order plain eggs. People look at me funny. We got to go out. Okay, I got to order steak. The steak comes with potato and veg. Oh no, I can't have that. Can I just have the steak? Like, it's just not sustainable for a lot of people. People use it as a loophole to be like, I can eat, bacon, eggs, butter, fatty cuts of meat, ribeye. And then they also realize it's really fucking expensive, but it's just not sustainable. Now, short term, it can be absolutely amazing. For making someone metabolically healthy or reverse certain autoimmune conditions, it can literally take between 2 to 3 weeks, I've seen. And, it can heal people's skin irritation, gut issues, all that stuff. Some people do need to be on it longer term, 60 to 90 days, to completely reverse different things like IBD conditions or stomach ulcers, a few things like that. Like, sometimes for the right person, it's necessary. But if that's not you, you don't need to be on it for fat loss.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting because, again, it's going to come down to that context. And that's why we said specifically for fat loss in this question, because it's so easy to be like, oh, do you like carnivore? It's like, oh, well, for what person in what situation?
Exactly.
And the same thing comes down to keto, right? Like carnivore, keto, you have a lot of people having, protein and then a lot of high fat foods. And like, I've seen just as many people who are trying to do that for fat loss and they're not losing any weight. And that's because, again, like, oils, avocados, high fat meats, like these all still have a lot of calories in them. Fats contain 9 calories per gram. Add that with protein, you're talking 13 per gram. So it's one of those things where, just because you're on carnivore or you're on keto, that doesn't, take away the laws of thermodynamics, which is, of course, the calorie deficit, which we need for fat loss. And then obviously you've got, your steps you need, your activity, all that sort of thing as well. Like Liam mentioned, for specific conditions, specific reasons can be really useful, but just don't get married to these things, guys, and think that's your new identity. And this is the dietary approach I'm taking for the rest of my life, because at the end of the day, the pendulum always keeps swinging, one way or the other. There'll always be another diet fad. And it always just comes back down to, getting enough protein in, eating some fiber, eating some micronutrients, like doing the right things once you feel like you're at a metabolically healthy stage.
Or just tracking your intake. Like, I find a lot of these diet fads, people use it as a free-for-all to eat a specific certain way, but still just not pay attention to the quantity of food that they're eating. Just track your calories. It is not hard. I know it's meticulous, but it just pays in dividends to actually understand nutritional knowledge. I'll give you an example today. I went out for lunch with our dad, and he got a southern fried chicken burger and came with chips, and he wanted to go halves with me. I said, no, I ordered 2 poached eggs on sourdough toast with butter on the side. And in my mind, I'm just looking at his meal with American cheese, mayo, deep fried chips, all this stuff. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, this is like 1,500 calories he's just devouring right in front of me. And I ordered something that's like 400.
Yeah.
Literally.
And it's funny, like, again, if you got the calories, awesome. Like, we're not saying you can't have a burger every now and again.
We know he doesn't.
We know he doesn't track. So, and again, it's just about finding that balance of like, if you can fit a burger in, awesome. But I find, it's just going back to knowing what's in food and being really diligent, because as soon as you start understanding what's in food and how many calories add up really, really quickly, subconsciously, even when you're not tracking anymore, you're going to make such better decisions. And I've seen this time and time again with clients, with myself when I first started tracking. Couldn't believe how many calories are in certain things. And then you just make better decisions subconsciously. And before you know it, it's like you'll make decisions without guilt, but somehow it's just going to end up sitting around your maintenance calories. Like if you're going out, like, I know now, I'm like, oh yeah, I want a bit of this, I want a bit of that, bit of this. And I'm like, oh yeah, that'll balance out. And I'm like, worst case, if I know it's too much, it's like, I'll just take some cereal out of my breakfast in the morning.
That's
and
what you mean.
It just makes it really easy. And of course, you don't want to be doing that all the time. There's times where you're sitting there celebrating with family or friends or wwhatever it is, and it's like, I'm just going to have a few drinks and relax. Like the thing fine. Is, doing it occasionally.
It's understanding nutritional information, right? Like, you could go out to Grilled, which is, quote unquote healthy, but then you look at their avocado chips and then 150 calories in the sauce and you're like, oh shit. Then you order their calorie friendly menu because it actually displays everything in kilojoules. But at the same time, you do the math and you're like, hang on, if I remove the mayo from this burger, which is like a tiny amount of the sauce, I save 150 calories. How does that even make sense? That's a third of the burger.
Isn't that the low carb buns have more
calories,
more fat? They have more calories than the normal buns, which is crazy. You probably think I'm making the better choice here.
This is why understanding nutritional information is the biggest thing. Like understanding things like oils, like I put up the example of me ordering burritos from Guzman and Gomez. A lot of people go there, but I'm like, just take out the sour cream, the guac, and the cheese, and you'll be fine. You say calories, probably more. I'd argue 400 to 500, because again, you don't know the amount that they put in there, but that's just how many calories you can save. And I'm telling you, the burrito tastes amazing still. Like people think if they take out the sauces or these things, the sauce on my burger or the avocado on my wrap and all this stuff, or my cheese, they think it's going to taste awful. No, it tastes still amazing.
It's just finding that balance. It's like, it's not going to taste as good, but you still want it to be palatable, right? And I think that's the main way to go about it. But this will lead us into the next one, which is fasting, specifically fasting for fat loss. Good, bad thoughts?
So I think it's actually good, just because from a caloric restriction standpoint, it gets someone to take out a meal that could have been very calorically dense. For a lot of people, it's breakfast. And then, if they skipped their bacon and eggs or their 300 calorie latte, then they're just like, oh, okay, I'm starting to lose weight. It's like, you've eaten less calories.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing with fasting, right? They've got all these things about autophagy and this and that, and a quick one on autophagy, just training in the gym will give you the same, if not more autophagy than just fasting, right? So if you're doing it just for the autophagy benefits, just train, right? And you don't want to fast, then don't fast. But yeah, can be a really useful tool. Like people implement fast for a day or whatever it is. And again, the main purpose is just to bring your calories down over the day, week, month, to put you in a calorie deficit, to give you better health outcomes if you are overweight, wanting to lose body fat. Again, there's some stuff with like protein modified sparing fasting, which I really like. Like that would probably be my number one go-to if someone came to me as an example and was like, Josh, I've got 2 weeks till a wedding and I need to lose as much body fat as humanly possible.
Yep.
I'd be like, okay, protein modified fast, which is essentially just consuming, 3-4 meals of protein, 2 grams per kilo of protein, and basically nothing else. And then smashing your steps as high as you can, and just consuming a lot of water. Won't be fun. You'll be fucking hungry all the time. But that's probably going to be your best bet with something like that. But again, we don't recommend these, quick diets because again, you jump on this protein modified fast. What happens after 2 weeks? You're probably leading it to a binge. And then after that, what happens? It's like, okay, the next couple of weeks, I've done my fast. All of a sudden, you're 5 kilos heavier and you go, I need to go back onto my protein modified fast and get it down again. It's miserable again. And then again, there's probably the role with insulin and all this other stuff that starts to get affected from just that yo-yo dieting up and down. So I think that's, can be useful, of course. We're not saying not to do it, but person dependent, context dependent, and of course, set a fucking timeline, please.
With your protein modified sparing fast, do you add trace carbohydrates in the form of like veggies with it?
Yeah, so it'll depend. Like sometimes it depends on the person. Like if they're like, I'm fucking starving, I'll just be like, sweet, add some veg into a meal or two, right? And just like smash as much veg as you want, basically, as much fiber as you possibly can. But otherwise, I'm like, just cop it. You'll be right. If it's 2 weeks, you'll be fine, We're not looking to grow as much muscle as possible here. We're looking to preserve it.
I'd counter it a little bit just because I've done similar with my clients. And from a stomach acidity and digestion standpoint, when they're just eating specifically just protein and meat, it can be heavy on the gut if they don't have things like fiber and digestive enzymes to help with them. And, fiber and digestive enzymes come with veggies and the micronutrients there. So
the best way to put that is like, I will still make sure someone's having like a multivitamin, a fish oil, so just covering bases there. Again, you probably get away with it for 2 weeks, but again, I know what people are like. They'll want to do it for the rest of their life because they see such fast results. So it is something to just be mindful of. But I also have had people do this being really overweight. And then what we've done is we've then just started adding carbs back into meals. So we've started adding calories back. So they're still in a net positive deficit, still in an aggressive deficit. But by adding stuff in every week, they just feel like, I'm getting more and more food and I'm still losing more and more weight. And then the carbs start doing their job. So it is a really effective strategy to potentially back that. But again, person dependent. Can they stick to it? Can they actually do it properly? That's always the main thing when it comes to a calorie deficit. Hit a protein target, preserve your lean muscle mass, and find the approach that I would say works best for you. What's optimal for us, what's optimal for you is going to be different depending on your lifestyle and preferences.
Definitely. I mean, what's optimal for us, people probably wouldn't believe, right?
Yeah, of course. Sweet. Well, that answers all our questions, guys. Hope you guys got plenty out of that. Definitely more of a nutrition based Q&A there, but hopefully that gives you guys a lot of thoughts towards, how we talk about different diets, how we structure different things, and hopefully you guys have got heaps of value out. Again, please share the podcast, please like, subscribe. Really helps us, really helps boost the channel and gets the message out to a lot of you guys, and make sure that idiots who do all these, stupid diets when they don't need to and call it their personality and their lifestyle. No, they don't need to do that. And you can find, a balance overall. So hope you guys enjoyed. We will see you in the next episode.
See you guys.